There's a secret that almost every successful creator knows, one that took me years to figure out, starting many different YouTube channels and getting over 1 million subscribers. And it's a small thing that small creators don't know about that makes a massive difference. And that is your video format. And virtually every big YouTuber uses the same video formats over and over again. And it's not just YouTubers. Think about your favorite TV show for a second. Every episode follows the same format. It creates the same emotions, the same atmosphere or ambiance. And this is what keeps you coming back again and again. And big YouTubers know this as well. All of Mr. Beast's YouTube videos, for instance, are challenge videos. On his second channel, Mr. Beast Reacts, all of his videos are reaction videos. And the biggest tech YouTuber, Mr. Who's the Boss, all of his videos are listicle review videos. And there's a reason for that. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to break down every single video format being used by top creators today, and I'm going to show you how you can find the perfect video format for you, your personality, and your channel. And I'm not just going to be talking about the obvious ones. I'll be going over ones that are untapped but still get millions of viewers. And I'm going to show you exactly how to use them. And by the end of this video, you'll know about the different types of videos and how others leverage those formats to their advantage. All right, guys, so the first one I'm going to go over is a fact-based listicle. Now, listicles are very common. You've probably seen them a million times. You know, there's different types of listicles. That's the important thing. So in this particular one, top 10 richest Hollywood actors in the world, the important thing to note about this is the person who is presenting it is not really putting their opinion in there. They might be, but in terms of the viewer's perspective, it's basically just information that's freely available, but they compiled that information and they put it together in an interesting way. And so top 10 richest Hollywood actors in the world. You can see that this got a lot of views, about 1 million views. It was only 2 months ago. And it is essentially a fact-based listicle. Now, it's honestly amazing to me how well these do, considering the fact that you can literally look this up in about 5 seconds using ChatGPT or even Google in most cases. But they still do really well. And this is a 35-minute video. It's a 35-minute video on the top 10 richest Hollywood actors in the world. Now, what's really important to note here is this is great for views. So this is great for views. But it's not so good for making money or, you know, basically selling stuff, okay? So yeah, it's really bad when it comes to actually selling stuff. And the reason is because the narrator is not positioned as an expert, right? You're not an expert. You're basically just somebody who did a little bit of research and compiled some information, okay? And that's not necessarily good for selling stuff, especially it's not good for selling high-ticket products. Now, you still might be able to sell low-ticket. Not always, it kind of depends on the niche, but it's not going to be very good for high ticket or even medium ticket products, generally speaking. So this one is also a listicle in that you go over a list of things. You know, in this case, this is actually my main channel. Got over 1 million subscribers on the main channel. And I'm talking about here 11 dirty side hustles that no one is talking about for 2025. Now, this is an opinion-based listicle, meaning I'm giving my opinion on 11 of the best dirty side hustles for 2025 that nobody's talking about. And it's important that I'm giving my opinion because I'm positioning myself as an expert in this case. Now, when I first started my channel, most of the videos I made were actually fact-based listicles. Why? Because nobody cared about who I was. So I was doing the hard work of gathering information that already exists together and then presenting it to the audience. And I wasn't really including my opinion most of the time. So for instance, I did one video way back in the day that was about the highest paying college degrees. I did another one that was about the most regretted college degrees. And both of these were based on actual data and science that was out there, like scientific studies, data that was freely available to the public. So the beautiful thing about opinion-based listicles, and this is the part that makes them like really, really effective actually, is they still get a lot of views, and they can really get like an incredible amount of views. There's a video that I uploaded just a few months ago that has almost 3 million views now. but they also position you as an authority because people actually care about your opinion. So it's not just you regurgitating some statistics or some facts that you found on the internet. They actually care about your opinion. Now, you might use facts to back your opinion up, but at the end of the day, they're watching the video because of your opinion, because they care about what you have to say, and that's the important part. And so because of that, they are much, much more likely to buy your stuff. So it's much easier for you to actually monetize your content because they're much more likely to buy your products or services. And that's the reason why opinion-based listicles are just significantly better, in my opinion, than fact-based listicles. Although if you're just starting out on YouTube, sometimes it's a good idea to start off with fact-based listicles. Now, the next one that is kind of similar to listicles is compilations. Now, in this particular case, you're actually making a compilation of events that have happened. So here's a good example in the kind of like make money online investing niche. Top 5 YouTuber live trading losses with reactions. So someone went around and they found 5 different examples of YouTubers just losing a massive amount of money while they are live streaming on the internet, which must be an incredibly painful and embarrassing thing to happen. And they just found those top five examples and they just clipped them together essentially and put them on YouTube. And you can see this got 5.6 million views. So this one is great for views. It is probably not very good for making money, right? Because again, you're not positioning yourself as an authority or an expert in this situation, right? You're just kind of throwing some clips together that already happened. However, I have seen a lot of expert, educational YouTubers use this just to initially get some views, and then they're kind of able to funnel those people into other parts of their content. So it's not the worst thing in the world to make this type of content, but it's probably not something that you want to do long term. And one that's very similar, it can be somewhat difficult to use this in certain niches, is the haul type of video. So this is very common when it comes to clothing niches. It can also be somewhat common when it comes to tech. They buy a bunch of different types of tech. So yeah, this one here is tech. He bought every YouTube ad. This one here is a huge Amazon. This is like basically the fashion niche. So this is one where it pretty much only works, at least consistently, in niches that involve physical products. So any niche that doesn't have physical products, this is going to be a tough one to make work. Although you probably could make it work. For instance, you could buy like every different type of AI software there is out there and then just kind of like try all of them out. And that would be technically kind of like a haul video. So you could definitely try that out and it might work in certain types of niches. And so I'm going to say this is really good for physical products. Physical products, it's great, and you can make even a lot of money with physical products. And you can even make a lot of money as long as it is a physical product, but it's going to be a bit hard to monetize for other types of niches. All right, next is on to one of my absolute favorites. This, in my opinion, is probably one of the best ones. It's kind of the bread and butter of experts. It's the one that I think works most consistently with people who are experts and people who are teaching something, especially if you're trying to sell high-ticket products. This is just absolutely one of the best ones. So it's a how-to video. Now, how-to videos, I would say they're kind of medium when it comes to views, but they are quite good when it comes to money. Okay, so you can make a lot of money with these because you're literally showing somebody exactly how to do something. And the great thing about this is it really positions you as an authority. Okay, it gives you the ability to say, like, I am an authority on this subject, and it also allows you to deliver value to a specific niche. So I like to call this niche value. Okay, so not just like some kind of extremely shallow value where you just help somebody with a tiny little tip or trick. but it's really not all that helpful. Like there are people that can literally like make massive breakthroughs in their business just based off of how-to content. I mean, I've done it myself, and you know, the content that I make on, especially on my second channel, is designed to literally get people results just with the channel alone. And so this can be incredibly good content to make. It's also just really useful in general. Absolutely love how-to videos. This might be the best for high-ticket products, although I think there are some hybrid types of how-to videos later on that we're going to talk about that could be even better depending on your niche. All right, so next is going to be tutorials. Now, this is where you literally show somebody how to do something step by step. Now, I did just say the words how to there, so you might be confused, like what's the difference between a tutorial and how to content? Well, tutorials tend to be a little bit more technical. Okay, so it's kind of showing people how to do stuff kind of like step by step, like click here, click there, you know, etc., that kind of thing. And there's good things about this and there's bad things. So you can definitely help people get results. But one thing I've noticed, and I've noticed this working with a lot of different clients, is if you are trying to sell somebody a high ticket product and you're making technical step-by-step content, what you're doing is you are selling the 12-hour flight. So let's just say, you know, you're here in the US, right? And you want to do a 12-hour flight to Thailand, right? This is Thailand. What you're doing when you make tutorial, like really technical step-by-step content, is you are selling the 12-hour flight. Well, it's probably more like 24 hours, but yeah, 24-hour flight. And you're not selling the vacation. You're not selling the destination. Okay, and so that doesn't mean you can't give like a lot of value with tutorial style content. It just means that a lot of people are going to find it kind of boring, and they're going to group you in with kind of just like a tutorial YouTuber. There's a reason why you don't see tutorial YouTubers that are making millions and millions of dollars a year. They can make a living, they can even make really good money, but generally speaking, they're not making millions and millions of dollars a year, and they're definitely not selling people high ticket products. Now, in some cases, you might be able to sell low, maybe even medium ticket products with tutorial. And then also you can always sell affiliate stuff. So you can get affiliate sales with tutorial style content, although you need to be careful there because I see a lot of people that actually make tutorial videos and then they have an affiliate link in the description, but in order for the person to actually get value out of the tutorial video, they would have had to have already bought the product or the software that you're doing the tutorial video on. So it's kind of useless and you're almost never going to get any sales if you do that, right? So you have to kind of like think about what type of video you're making and if the person is maybe like already bought the thing before you do tutorial videos. Now, I have found that there's a few products where people are actually making a ton of money. So one example of a product that people are making a ton of money with is Go High Level, okay? And people are making tutorial videos on Go High Level, and they are making an absolute ton of money doing it. We're talking like millions of dollars a year, okay? Just literally making tutorial videos, which is incredible. But generally speaking, people who are making tutorial videos are not like selling high ticket products. And high ticket products, you know, something I talked about on the channel a lot, is how you make a ton of money. With that being said, there's kind of two different types of tutorial videos. Number one is the technical tutorial, okay? And then number two is high level, okay? So if you are going to make tutorial videos, I highly recommend you stick with the high level tutorials. And that is where you kind of tell people like on a high level what to do, but you're not going to be going into software and being like, click here, click there, click here. Or at least you're not going to be doing a lot of that. For the most part, you're going to be keeping people on, you know, on the high level and just be like, okay, this is how we use this software. This is how we do this, we do that. But you're not telling people, okay, go in, click here, go to the top left, click here, then click there, blah, 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 the entire video. Because that is selling the 12-hour flight, not selling the amazing vacation with the great food and the beaches and the smiling people, et cetera, right? Next is educational content, and this has many of the same problems that tutorial videos have. Because when you're teaching pure educational content, for instance, digital marketing in 5 minutes, what is digital marketing? You kind of position yourself as a commodity. Okay, I think I spelled that wrong. I think there's two M's here, but yeah, commodity. So you're basically, again, just showing somebody how to do something step by step. And this is the type of content that you could easily just look up with AI or Google, etc. Right? This educational step by step content. With that being said, it's not the worst in the world. You know, you can still get views with this style of content, but it's going to be, you know, it's good for views, generally speaking. It's not so good for making money. Okay. Again, generally speaking, you can sell low to medium ticket products, probably more on the low side, but you probably are not going to be able to sell high ticket products with this type of content. But yeah, this is basically where you present something almost like you are presenting a book, or something, like you're a teacher and you're teaching out of a book. And you're teaching very general information. That's the thing that's really important to note here. You're teaching general information that doesn't really have anything to do with your opinion. And we all know that the money lies in the specific information. And a lot of the time, the specific information is not something that you can like 100% prove is correct. It's just something that as an expert, as somebody who's in the trenches, you're noticing that this thing is working right now, and maybe it won't work 5 years from now, and maybe it didn't work 5 years ago, but it's working right now. And that's what you tell people, right? This is where the money's at. This is where the value's at, is the specific information. General information, anybody can kind of just look up on ChatGPT or look up on Google. And so to me, it's not all that valuable. And generally speaking, this educational type content, that is what it is it's very general information. Now, documentaries are very interesting. Now, there's full-length documentaries. These are almost like what you would see on Netflix. And then you have these little mini documentaries. And this is a type of content that is very interesting. And it's also a type of content that takes a lot of skill to make. So that's one thing I'm going to say about this is you have to have a tremendous amount of skill to make this type of content work. It does get a lot of views. And it's okay for sales. Okay, it's okay for sales, but I haven't seen people consistently do extremely well when it comes to sales with this. But with that being said, this works in just about every niche out there. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to make these types of videos. I mean, even this one, which is a 15-minute video, it probably took like this person like a month to make. A full-length hour-long video will probably take like a few months to make, right? So this can absolutely blow your channel up. It can be really good. But with that being said, it takes a lot of effort to do it. And I don't typically recommend this to clients. All right, so next is vlogs. And this is one where I think it's good to do once in a while. Even in the educational niche, it's good to do once in a while just to kind of show the other person what your day-to-day life is like and just give them more of a kind of a sneak peek into your life. But it's actually not very good for sales, okay? So this one can be good for views. I would say it's really good for kind of just getting your audience to know you on a deeper level. But it is definitely not good for sales. I would not recommend this for sales. And in fact, people like Alex Hormozy, for instance, he was doing this for a while. He was just kind of having people like follow him around. And he just completely stopped doing it because he probably found that they just didn't have buyer intent. They were just like kind of interested in what he was doing, but nobody was actually buying or, you know, clicking on his lead magnets or signing up to his stuff when they were doing this type of content. With that being said, a day in the life type videos, this is a great way to kind of kick off your channel. It's a great way to basically like let people know who you are and what you're all about and just get some people initially kind of viewing your stuff. And I do think that once in a while it is a good idea to do these types of videos, but it's definitely not the type of video where you want to make it your main format, in my opinion, because again, you can get a lot of views, but it's going to be really tough to actually make sales with this type of content. All right, next is unboxing videos. So this is extremely niche specific. And you can see, you know, in certain niches, especially physical product related niches like camera niche, photography niche, you can see there's a ton of unboxing videos. This is the Sony CyberShot DSC unboxing in 4K. This is Graham Stephan unboxing a super elite credit card that, you know, only a few people have access to. So this is another one where once in a while you can make an unboxing video and it's kind of cool. It'll get some views. It'll get people consuming your content. But again, it might be good for views, might be good to get people to know you, but it's very bad for consistency. And it's also very bad for actually making money. So yeah, typically don't recommend this to clients for a regular format for them to make all the time. All right, so next is a conspiracy video. And this is one that I actually put separately, even though you could almost call this a documentary style video, just kind of like a, I don't know, like a negative documentary, like an expose kind of thing. But I wanted to put this separate because usually this is very anti-establishment. And that can get you in trouble sometimes, right, with getting kicked off of platforms. So you really need to be careful with this, okay? You really need to be careful. And another thing I'll say about conspiracy videos, you know, this is Jake Tran. He makes a lot of conspiracy videos. It's the government's quest to control the weather. Another thing I'll say about conspiracy videos is you can make them about like the government, but you can also make them about other people as well. And sometimes this can kind of blow up your channel a little bit. So just as an example, meet Kevin when he first started posting on YouTube. He made a lot of these conspiracy type videos about Grant Cardone. So he basically exposed, you know, Grant Cardone and how his business worked and blah, 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 blah. And he did get sued by Grant Cardone. Now, he had enough money to where it really didn't matter, so he was able to kind of weather it out. And I guess, you know, he probably, I'm guessing Grant Cardone was not successful in suing him as well. But you have to be really careful because you absolutely can get sued. And I would say that if you know, you can do this and you can get away with it, but you'll probably, 1, get sued, 2, make a lot of enemies, and 3, you'll probably also attract an entire audience of trolls, aka people that are not buyers. Okay, so people that are constantly obsessed with conspiracy style content, they probably just think the whole world is out to get them, and they're not going to buy your stuff. They're just, generally speaking, they're kind of like negative people. Not to say like some of the conspiracies might actually be true. Like some people that get exposed probably deserve it, and some of it might actually be true. But with that being said, you're going to attract an entire audience of like negative people and trolls if this is all you make. If this is the main type of content that you make and it's all, you just do it all the time, your entire audience is just going to be full of trolls. So that's going to be really hard to sell something to those people. So this style of content is amazing for views, okay? Awesome for views. It can get you banned, so I'm gonna put that. That's a negative, right? It's not that great for money in terms of like selling to people. And really, you need to be just very careful with this type of content. Not to say that you can't do it. I do a little bit of this once in a while. You know, I'll make, you know, a video about like the most useless college degrees. That's one of the best videos on my channel. So that's a little bit of a conspiracy video. I'll also make videos about other people who are really big in the niche. But you'll notice in those videos, I never personally attack people. And I usually just critique a few of their opinions. And I don't really just say anything bad about the person themselves. It's usually just a critique of their opinions. And I'm very careful about what I say in those types of videos. So yeah, this can make your channel take off, especially if you make one about somebody who's kind of like really big in your niche. But I highly recommend to be respectful. Attack their ideas, but never attack the person themselves, because you can get sued or you can make a lot of enemies, or you could potentially even get banned by the platform if you're nasty enough. So just be very careful with this type of content. All right, next is interviews. And this one is very interesting because if you are interviewing, then it's great for views, okay? Great for views. Not so good for making money and selling. Okay, that's kind of the problem with this, because why is this? It goes back to authority and expertise, right? You are basically not positioning yourself as the expert if you're interviewing somebody else. You are positioning them as the expert. Whereas if you are being interviewed, then this is amazing for both views and money. And this is why a lot of people will actually pay to get on other people's podcasts. That's a whole separate can of worms, but there are ways that you can basically pay to go on a bunch of different people's podcasts. There's even companies that are designed to get you on those podcasts. And a lot of the time, you will end up making money because you are the person being interviewed, and therefore you are seen as the expert. So a lot of the time when people come out with books, for instance, what is the first thing they do? They go on a podcast route. They basically go on like 10, 20, 30 different podcasts. They get interviewed about whatever the subject of the book is. And then at the very end, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, I have this book. Buy it here. And you know, they end up getting tons and tons of people that read their book by doing that. Now, to be fair, podcasts are a little bit different, and we're going to talk about that here in a moment. But yeah, interviews, it's a really good style of content. There are ways of doing it in such a way where you can still position yourself as the expert. For instance, you could interview somebody, ask them questions, and then you give them feedback on what they're saying. But overall, this one is good for views, but not so good for actually selling stuff and making money. And by the way, guys, when I say this, one thing I want to say is if you figure something out in certain niches, if you're very clever about how you do things, you can still make money with these different ones. So by no means am I saying like, hey, if you're having some success in your niche, I'm not saying you should switch your format, right? If you're having success with a certain format, just keep doing it. It's totally fine because you can always add an intermediate step in the middle. For instance, you could get the person to a community, or you could get them on your email list, etc., and then you can sell to them in those places as well. So it's not the end of the world if you're doing these different formats. I'm just making the point that there's certain types of formats where it's significantly easier to sell to people than others. If you are extremely skilled, you might figure out how to sell to people in these different formats. And that's amazing. Good for you. But I'm just trying to tell you which ones are the easiest to do that in. All right, so case studies. Case studies are very interesting. Now, there's two different types of case studies. There's case studies where you go over other people. So for instance, in this case study, I actually talk about a client. Okay, so there's case studies where you go over your clients. These are absolutely insanely good for money, okay? So they don't really get that many views usually. I'd say they're like, let's just say these are medium for views. You know, if you do them in a certain way, they can be medium for views. But they are absolutely bananas when it comes to money. I mean, these just absolutely print money because you literally show the before and after of someone who is having probably the same exact problems as your ideal client, the people who are watching your video, and then you show the kind of like transformation of that person going from having that problem, not making money, to actually being able to make money, which is just an amazing transformation. And they position you as the expert, the guide basically on the hero's journey, right? The person is the hero, the person that you helped, and then you are their master, their guide that helped them get from point A to point B. So these are absolutely amazing for making money. They're pretty mediocre usually when it comes to actual views. Sometimes they might even be on the lower side when it comes to views, but they are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to making money. Now, with that being said, that is if you position this as a client case study. If you're just doing a case study on somebody else, like for instance, let's say I did a case study on Alex Hormozi and how he makes his money, this is actually, a lot of the time, this is actually exceptionally good for views, but it's not very good for money. Why? Again, because you're positioning the other person as the expert. If I did a case study on Alex Hormozi, I'm positioning him as the expert, and we're going over what he did. And since he's so famous, it would get a lot of views, but very few people would actually want to work with me because he's the one who's getting positioned as the expert. If anything, they might go and work with Alex Hormozi. They might go and buy his books and work with him, right? And so you really need to be careful how you do this. With that being said, you can still make this work because it can get a lot of views if you go over the right people. But the ultimate case study is just doing a case study on yourself. So in some cases, you can actually get pretty good views. I'm going to say this is medium for views as well. And this is exceptionally good for money because you're literally telling the person exactly what you did to solve the problem that they probably have right now. And so you should definitely do at least one of these videos on your channel. And for those who wait until the very end of this video, I'm actually going to go over two different formats that are kind of sub-formats of this that are incredibly effective. But just know that case studies in general, like this is something that absolutely everybody should do at least one of on their channel, and it should be a case study of themselves. And you should do a few case studies of your clients too. All right, next is the challenge video. And this one is probably the best video for views. This is literally #1 best for views, okay? And specifically, this is challenge video in the entertainment niche. And this is why Mr. Beast, for instance, got 750 million views from one video. And 3 years later, it's still getting 22,000 views per hour. Absolutely nuts. Now, this type of video, when it comes to education, expert type businesses, businesses in general, like B2B, sophisticated markets, it's not that good. Okay, it's not that good. But with that being said, you still could probably do it and get a lot of views. And like if 1 out of a million people buy your product, well, in this case, you'd have like 758 clients, but still not highly recommended. Instead, what you should do is an educational challenge video. So these still have a little bit of entertainment to them because, inherently, these are just like pretty entertaining videos. So for instance, I helped a subscriber get rich to prove it's not luck. And if you watch this video, this is from Bia Heza, you'll see that it is a challenge video where he, challenged himself. He tried to get the subscriber results. Another version of this is from Simon Squibb. I turned his crazy idea into a business in 60 days. This is another challenge video. And these are very difficult to make. So I'm just going to kind of list some things out. Like this is difficult. So I'm just going to list some things out. This is quite difficult. Okay, this is one of the hardest ones to make. It's up there with documentary as one of the more difficult styles of video to make, but it gets a ton of views. And if you do it right, especially if you do a challenge video that has somebody else in it, it can make a ton of money. So this might actually be one of the best ones to do. With that being said, it is extremely difficult to make this one work. Okay, this is something that usually you have to film over a 30-day period, 90-day period, 3-month period. And that means you kind of have to be like a creative director and film, over many different periods. There's also a lot of things that are outside of your control. Like what if you work with this guy and then he just doesn't get results? What if he just decides to ghost you, 15 days in or something, right? There's a lot of things that are outside of your control when you're doing this type of video because you don't know what is going to happen and your audience doesn't know either. And that's what makes the video so exciting is the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. And so challenge videos can be really good. It's one that I recommend, but they are kind of difficult to do. Now, another type of challenge video, and this is one that I haven't seen that many people doing on YouTube, but it's actually been proven on other platforms such as TV, is Shark Tank. It's a challenge video where it's actually a competition between multiple different people, and it's still educational. So an example of a show that has made this work is Shark Tank. And another one is The Apprentice. This was one of the most popular shows on TV for a long time. And both of these, by the way, are in the business niche. So I know a lot of people that watch my channel are in business and education or in the B2B space. And so this is one that I predict is going to get much bigger over the next few years. And it's essentially an educational challenge video, but it just has multiple people. So the people are competing against each other. So it's kind of like what Mr. Beast is doing, but with multiple people, and it's educational instead of entertaining. And I see this one doing extremely well over the next few years. All right, next is one of the laziest types of videos you can possibly do. Literally, there are channels out there where they just record themselves reacting to content. They're just like eating like a sandwich and drinking something like, oh, interesting. And they just make faces and they just record themselves reacting. Now, I'm kind of like halfway joking there, but yeah, there are channels that do that, and they literally just watch stuff and they just kind of react to it and they just share their opinion. And I like to say like this is entertainment, right? So there's entertainment type reaction content, and this gets tons of views. It's insanely easy. This is like the easiest, laziest type of content you could possibly make, but it doesn't make very much money. And you can probably guess why, because it doesn't position you as the expert. Now, there are ways to kind of position yourself as the expert with this, but generally speaking, when I hear about reaction, I just think of like entertainment, and I think the person isn't really adding anything to the video. It's not that transformative, and in some cases, they actually get in trouble because they're just literally not adding anything to the video. So another one that's kind of similar, but you're actually adding a little bit of value to the video is commentary. And to be honest with you, these can easily be confused with each other. Reaction and commentary are almost the same thing. But I like to say that commentary is when it's first of all, it's more educational, okay? And you're also adding value, okay? You're adding your opinion, right? So it's like actually your opinion on things, and you're actually adding some value to it. You're not just, doing some drama or just like making fun of the person or anything like that. And because of this, it still gets a lot of views, and I'd say it's mediocre for sales. It's still not great for sales, not gonna lie, okay? It's still mediocre for sales, but you are positioning yourself a little bit more like an expert. I've made some videos like this, and they've all just been kind of mediocre or on the low side for sales, and I just, generally speaking, don't like them that much. With that being said, you can get a ton of views doing this, and it's honestly some of the easiest content ever. And so you can kind of do this as a hybrid with other types of formats. So for instance, you could look up a list for an article that kind of went viral on the internet, and then you can kind of just give your commentary on the list. So it's kind of like a listicle, but at the same time, it's a commentary video. And then of course you give a little bit of your opinion on it. And that can do really well when it comes to views, and it can get people to initially watch your channel. So I think that this can be really good for top of funnel content where you originally get people into your funnel, right? So this is top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And it can be really good for the top of funnel content just to get people in your funnel, get people watching your channel, and then you can filter them to the middle of funnel or the bottom of funnel later on down the line. And then news. So it seems like every finance channel, for instance, eventually becomes a news channel, like Graham Stephan, Meet Kevin, Andre Gique. They're all essentially making different styles of news content now. And the thing about this type of content is it doesn't really take high production quality. So it is easy to make, right, in terms of production quality, because usually it's just you literally going over the news. But the part that's hard is you basically have to be a hustler. You have to be the type of person where when some piece of news comes out, you just drop everything you do and you make a video on it, like immediately, because it's very important for you to be one of the first people to cover it. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way the news cycle works. Now, this type of content, surprisingly, gets a lot of views, and it's also really good for sales too. Okay, so it can be really good for sales. I would say, okay, maybe not really good. It's like somewhere between medium and high when it comes to sales. It's not the best one for sales, but it's pretty good. Okay, so this type of content gets a lot of views, and it's really good for sales. The only thing that sucks is you have to be a hustler, and it's really not scalable. Okay, it's not scalable content because you basically have to be a hustler and just always making content all the time, because the news cycle never sleeps, and neither will you if you become a news YouTuber, most likely, right? But it's really good. It's also another one that, in my opinion, is going to be safe against AI, because people are always going to want to hear the news from other people, and AI is not going to be as good at delivering the news as other people are. So it is a pretty good format. I have one client who is making about $1.3 million a month, and he basically makes news style content all the time. All right, product review. So this is one that is really good in tech and physical products. The great thing about this is bottom of the funnel content. You are reviewing a piece of tech or something like that, but it's actually bottom of the funnel because people are usually making a purchasing decision based off of your video. So it gets lots of views, but you can also make a lot of money. Now, one thing I will say about this is usually best for physical products or low to medium ticket products. Generally speaking, high ticket, it doesn't really work with high ticket, but it works good with physical products and low to medium ticket products. So for instance, you could be reviewing a piece of software or something like that, and it can be really, really good for sales, but it's usually not going to be good for sales when it comes to high ticket products. So yeah, product reviews, tech, that kind of thing, really, really good. Another one that's very similar is versus reviews. So this is basically where you compare two different products. So in this case, he's comparing two different types of phones. And this is also, it's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you. I would say all of the same things. It's the bottom of the funnel. It's great for views. It's also, good for physical products, and it's good for selling low and medium ticket products. And there's a little bit, just a tiny little hint of drama in there, right? Because you're comparing two different products. And so there's just a little bit of drama there. And then sometimes you can do versus review content that compares a bunch of different types of products. So you can compare I'll just give you an example. I recently got a walking treadmill, and I looked at a bunch of different versus review type content where they compared a bunch of different treadmills. Sometimes it would be like 5 or 10 different treadmills in a single video. And that is how I made my buying decision. Okay, I made my buying decision based off of that content, and I'm very happy with the one I got. And so this can be a really good type of video to do as well. Again, physical products, low to medium ticket products. An example of this on my main channel that I did would be talking about the Coursera professional certificates, right? So I talk about the different Coursera professional certificates, and I talk about the differences between them. For instance, the IBM data analytics certificate versus the Google data analytics certificate. And that was a product review. And then if I compared the two, it would be a versus review style content. Next is the YouTube podcast. And this is very similar to the interview in that if you are the expert, then it's great for money. And if you are not the expert, then it is not so good for money, right? If you're interviewing somebody else. But either way, you can get a lot of views, right? So I would say this is extremely similar to interview style videos. It's just kind of like in podcast format, so it's just a little bit of a different feel to it. And it's also designed to be listened to in audio, which is actually really important because a lot of people will actually turn on podcasts and then they'll kind of go about their day-to-day whatever they would normally be doing while they're listening to the podcast. So this is something where even if you're doing interview style content, try to integrate that in. Try to make it to where people can understand everything you're talking about, even while they're listening to something else. Even if you have like visual stuff to back it up, just make sure that the audio itself can stand on its own. And that is actually one of the big secrets that many of the big YouTubers in the educational niche use. All right, so this next one is podcast clips. So this is basically where you cut up podcasts, or you could do this with interviews as well, and then you upload those onto the internet. And a lot of the time, these will just be the little juicy bits, the little interesting moments. And a lot of the time, these will actually be uploaded on a different channel, which is kind of important to note here. Now, these get a lot of views because, for one, they're kind of like you're playing with house money because you already got the original views from the initial podcast, but you also get a bunch of extra views, and then those people will end up watching the initial podcast as well. So this is just like one of the reasons why podcasts are a great style of content is you can cut them up and then you end up getting like 10 times more views just by cutting them up and putting them on various different lengths and other types of platforms as well. When it comes to money, again, usually you are interviewing somebody else. So when it comes to money, I would say it's mediocre or even bad usually. But you get so many views that it kind of makes up for it. And I also want to talk about hybrid formats. So the biggest secret of a lot of the biggest YouTubers is they don't just choose one format. They actually choose a hybrid. So this is something that I did. This is a video where we got over 3 million views in a month. I was talking about that earlier. And what this is an opinion listicle, right? 9 boring but high-paying remote jobs, always hiring in 2025, mixed with a review. Because you'll notice for each job that I talk about in this video, I give it a rating from 1 to 10. It's a rating. What is a rating? It is a review. So I am reviewing the jobs from 1 to 10. I'm also talking about different aspects of them that would be important to people, like how much money you make, how easy it is to land the job, etc., etc. So this is a hybrid video. It's an opinion listicle mixed with a review video. If you notice, Mr. Who's the Boss, he does hauls, or you could also call them listicles if you want, plus reviews. So he gets, a bunch of different stuff like ultimate survival tech gear, different hauls or lists of different products, and then he reviews them. So it's a kind of a mix of a review / listicle or a review / haul style content. And that's what makes his channel unique. That's what makes his channel different than every other channel out there. He's probably the only person making this exact style of content, or at the very least, he is the person that is known for this exact style of content. These two different formats mixed together. Additionally, with this one, this channel is quite good at this. I've noticed they've done a lot of this type of thing where it's a podcast, so it's two different guys talking together and they're on this podcast, but then they react to different types of content. So financial advisors react to financial advice on YouTube, and they basically just look at different financial advice, they react, they say, I agree with this, I don't agree with this, etc., and that is their style of content, and that is the hybrid format. So I highly recommend that you find your own hybrid format that you can own, because it's going to make your format of content completely different than everyone else out there. Or at the very least, you're going to have way less competition if you do a hybrid format. Now, for those of you that actually watch to the end, I have a treat for you. I'm actually going to cover two other types of videos that are exceptionally good that everyone should have on their channel. So one I like to call a VSL case study. Now, this could be you or one of your clients, but this is usually about a 50 plus minute video. So it's a long video. It's around 1 hour or so. And you basically go over a case study, and it's educational, but it's very similar to a video sales letter. It is educational. It's a little more educational than your average video sales letter, but it's similar in structure in terms of like what you actually do to the VSL, but it's a little bit more educational than your average VSL. And it's really designed to get people to book a call. So you can actually send, a ton of people from other parts of your channel to your VSL to get them to book a call. So this is especially effective if you make content that's good at getting views, but it's not really good at turning those views into dollars. A really good example of this is Iman Gadzhi. Okay, so Iman Gadzhi was making a lot of content that was essentially listicle style content, and it's great for getting views, but it wasn't so good for actually converting those people. So what did he do? He did something very smart. He sent those people to a YouTube or case study VSL. And in his particular case, the case study VSL was something about the best business models to start in this day and age, and it got millions and millions of views. And he basically said that his business model was the best to start, which was, I think it was agency or something like that. But that got millions and millions of views, and it was designed to actually convert the person. And if you look at it, it was very similar in design to a VSL. It was a little bit more educational, but it was essentially a VSL, a long one that you put on YouTube. And this is a super amazing conversion asset that you can have on your YouTube channel. Now, a second type of video that everybody should put on their YouTube channel is a full course. And this is a type of how-to video. Now, this is at least 1 hour, but honestly, it could be a lot longer than that. And this is essentially a full course that you put on YouTube that covers a topic and gives a ton of value from start to finish. And I've seen people get millions and millions of views from these courses. For instance, you could look up SMMA full course and you'll see there's some people who have uploaded like 12-hour courses. Now, you don't need to do 12-hour. I think about 1.5 hours is good. If that works really well, you can do like a longer one, like 3 or even 5 hours. And a lot of the time, you can actually just throw together something that you've already made in the past. You can do a combination of videos that are already in your course, especially if you're upgrading your course, and then mix those with videos that you've already uploaded to your channel, and then record a few new videos. And it can just be kind of a combination of all of them, that when you put all of them together, it turns into a very long course. And those videos get massive, massive watch time, and they can just absolutely blow your channel up. So this is what's working right now. I don't know if this is going to work in the future. It might be that it only works for a year or a few months or whatever, and then it stops working, but it's working extremely well right now. Additionally, for all of the people who've watched to the end, I'm going to tell you the master format that all of these formats actually lie under. Now, before I tell you, I want you to guess. What is the master format? Is it a listicle? Is it a compilation? Is it a haul? Is it a how-to? Is it a tutorial? Is it education? Is it documentary? Is it vlog? Is it unboxing? Is it conspiracy? Is it challenge? Which one do you think it is? I'm going to give you a few moments, pause the video if you'd like to guess. And I have a very, very strong answer that I'm 100% sure is true. And that is that the master format is a listicle. If you think about it, every type of content out there is a listicle. Books, for instance. What do books have in them? They have chapters. What are chapters? They're essentially another word for lists, right? How to, let's just say tutorials, how-tos or tutorials, right? Tutorials are step-by-step guides. What is a step-by-step? It's a list. It's a list of things in a specific order, right? So how-tos and tutorials are essentially listicles. Even movies. Movies have a 12-act structure. And each act usually has like 3 different parts to it. So it's like 36 overall. What is that? It's a list. So at the end of the day, everything is a listicle. And if you're able to break your particular type of content down to a listicle format, that makes it significantly easier to make, right? So even if you're creating a course, for instance, anybody who creates courses will tell you, first thing you need to do is almost outline it like a book. Like, what are all the steps the person needs to take to get from point A, where they are right now, to point B, where they want to be? And then they will tell you, write each one of those steps out. And guess what? Each one of those is essentially like the chapter to your course. Then you take each one of those chapters and you write out what are the steps the person needs to take to do a good job with that exact chapter. And then they'll have you do that. And those are kind of like the sub-chapters to your course. Right? So even courses are essentially listicles. So if you think about this, it makes creating content significantly easier. If you think of everything as being a listicle, you break everything down into the tiny little pieces that forms almost like Legos, right? It's almost like a Lego set. Even a giant castle is made of these tiny little pieces. And if you can just break it down to those tiny little pieces, it makes creating the content significantly easier. So at the end of the day, you always want to think of content as a listicle, no matter what. Break it down into the tiniest little pieces that it needs to be broken down into, and then just take it step by step, and that's how you make a really good piece of content. Now, on this channel, I give you guys the sauce completely free. I give you all of the best possible information that helped me start 2 different 7-figure businesses on YouTube. But if you're a busy business owner that wants to save a bunch of time, get expert one-on-one guidance, then go ahead and book a call with me down in the description and the pinned comment below. I've helped 7 people get to 8 figures a year, and I've helped over 15 people get to 7 figures a year on YouTube with my guidance. So if you want to be my next success story, go ahead, book a call down in the description and the pinned comment below, and I'll talk to you soon. And also check out my video on how I work 4 hours a week and make $300K per month by clicking right here.